thank you to all of you. I appreciate you all joining me in this sort of walk through, very informal talk through this exhibition, Practice as Ritual, Ritual as Practice, that is curated by Andrea Fatona, who is a collaborator of TTM. As Monica was saying, I'm also thankful for TTTM to be a collaborator on this project and to really be able to meet all of you, learn about all of your practices. I am also presently the Concordia University Research Chair in Critical Curatorial Studies and Decolonizing Art Institutes, and so it's a big mandate, but I'm chipping away at it slowly, and I'm in my year 2 of year 5. And so this project is very, very dear to me because Andrea is also a very dear friend. And today I am sort of channeling Andrea. I'm never going to be able to fill her shoes to be her to introduce her exhibition to you, but she's very ill, and I'm really happy to be able to help in a way and provide an entry point, several entry points as much as I can, but not as a curator at this time, but more as an art historian. So I'll give you some more broader context that you might not glean from reading press materials so far, but you'll see how I'm speaking to some pieces, and as I've only seen this layout 15 minutes ago, as you have, I'm going to work through it, all right? So just to let folks know that there is some sensitive materials and ideas that are going to be encompassed by some of the works that are about the transatlantic slave trade and the Middle Passage. And so I just want you to have a heads up so that you can take care of yourself as you need, all right? It's also more informal because I wanted to sort of make this as a talk back a little bit as well. So I'll introduce something, and if you have any further interpretations, that would be great, right? So I'm going to sort of follow a framework that has been introduced by Andrea, the curator, and I'm also going to interject, so I welcome your interjection. So just by way of introducing this work, these two pieces by Diane and Barbara Prezzo are, of course, they're intended to greet you as you come into the exhibition. And so this one is a very embracing work by Diane Charité. And I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to like do my glasses thing where I go like this and look at you because, you know, and this is one of the pieces where you can touch and you can go in. And I wanted to tell you that Diane had organized for a musical event to open the exhibition, and so these are some of the instruments that the musicians were playing as well, and so you're allowed to also engage with them. There's this important aspect of this work that is sort of constructed, as you see, as a hut in a way, so as a welcoming sort of safe space, if you will, and this is my interpretation of the exhibition. It also is a welcoming entry point. And so here I wanted to tell you that this exhibition has been ongoing on tour. Its next stop will be in Hamilton, and it first opened in A Space in Toronto, and that was an important artist-run center for it to open at, because this exhibition is actually in an homage to the 30 years since the exhibition Black Women When and Where We Enter. And this is a phrase from a turn of the century Anna Julia Cooper, who was an abolitionist activist at that time, very strong Black voice in the abolitionist movement. And so the title from this 1989 exhibition was to feature the work of 11 artists, 11 to 12, because it also fluctuated depending on which city it toured, 5 cities, and was actually the topic of my MA thesis, which is a long time ago. So I'm like trying to remember things from a long time ago. But I'm going to talk a little about that. It was an exhibition that was organized by a collective called DAWA, which was Diasporic artists, women artists. Diasporic African Women Artists Collective, and actually what Andrea did was she invited all of the members of this show from 30 years ago to come together and see what they are doing now, how things have changed, or maybe they haven't changed. And for Andrea, her approach was to actually invite the artists, bring them together, and hopefully there would be a zeitgeist. Sorry, I'm saying this wrong. Zeitgeist. That would happen, and that all the works would come together, and she would weave it together. And so, these works are not the same works, except for two artists, not the same works as those that were shown in the 1989 exhibition that I wrote about, and many of those works actually don't exist. They were very ephemeral, they were not collected properly, et cetera, and so on. But this is a 30th anniversary show for many of these artists, and so a huge number of them came back. 10 of them are on display for this exhibition. Diane's exhibition, Diane is a Montreal-based artist, actually did have a hut-like structure for the first show. So this is sort of the closest to the piece. And what's beautiful about it is that I met Diane for my MA thesis a long time ago. And she had this little, this young person with her, who was her daughter, and I just remember having dinner, and so I was chatting it up. It was a while ago, and so see this piece is that this is a piece of with the artist who it looks like that they are working on the hair of a young child, so it looks the mother and child, and you can go around and feel the love and tenderness that the mother is dealing with black hair, which has been a very important aspect of Black identity, but also with regard to how to take care of black hair as well, and how Black mothers would be much more aware of that, of the texture, the certain texture, and the ways in which black hair would be braided, and the tensions and pulls that you would need in order to for the child not to feel pain. Can you want to jump in?
I saw that she used plaster. Is there a reason she didn't paint it?
Is there a reason she didn't paint it? This is no, I wouldn't actually know how to answer that. Is there a reason why she painted? I think she likes to work with very, very untreated natural materials, and so it wouldn't be her style to paint it, but you'd have to ask Yan. What I wanted to point out is that this is actually a Yan Lee, who is the author of the book that you have in your little bag. And Yan has been working for Canadian art, has been really like writing a lot about the Canadian art, Black Canadian art scene. And it, in fact, is right now is 35 years since the 1989 exhibition. But in 2019, this is just before COVID, we had a resurgence of interest and appreciation for Black Canadian art, as elsewhere, partly due with to the Black Lives Movement, but definitely very much about a young generation of Black women students who are now studying and realizing that it's been 30 years, and this new chapter of DAWA, which was reignited in 2019 by Anik Jordan through social media, what she did was they organized a feast of 100 Black women artists. Some of you might know already about this feast that it was historic event, also historically, took place in the atrium of the AGO. That square AGO where you have the round pieces by Robert Hoole in that atrium, and that opening space, and they had a feast of 100 people to celebrate the 30 years of that. And of course, the people who came, who were sort of the celebrities at that time were the artists, who are some of them, many of them who are in this show. And this is really, really wonderful because it's about hair and braiding, and this is also another piece that is about braiding, and in fact it's called braids. So you go from transition to intergenerational knowledge, passing of knowledge in this, to this work, which is about braiding. And Barbara Prezzo is a very prominent Asian artist in Montreal, and this work is based on a performance where she invites many people of the community to braid. So each one of these is someone different braided it in the community, and it's a workshop where they learned how to braid, and there are many, many different techniques for braiding hair well, in this case Asian culture, but in African culture broadly speaking. And so what happens with these braids, these are only photos, but they are gathered together, and you see in the video a little bit, they're gathered together, and there's more strength when you gather all the pieces together, so of a community. And it's actually now a piece that hangs in the Haitian Cultural Center in Montreal, in the middle, and it hangs like a circle, as if it was a tent as well. And so for me, knowing that, it's just such a wonderful resonance with this tent-like structure, because you really have two tents that are welcoming you in. So this is a bit about this piece, but again also about hair. There is a strong sense of spirituality and the ritual of practice that are inherent in many of these works, which is why Andrea thought of that as the theme to weave these works together. So you see, so this is the first welcoming space, if you will, and then you will we'll slowly move into this space. There's a lot of work in a very small space. So one of the things that I wrote about the exhibition of 1989 was that it was the first exhibition in Canada to feature only Black Canadian artists in an exhibition, a first group exhibition, and it was the only one that was curated by Black curators, by the DAWA collective. And so this exhibition is also, it's sort of initiated by Andrea, but also definitely a group effort in the sense that the DAWA, the collective, they came back together and they curated. They also contributed to curating their show, and they brought in pieces that they thought were important to showcase on what were they're working or how they're doing now. So these works are actually recent, except for these two works, which I'll get into. So you can see how spirituality flows through the work of Mackie Booker and Winsome. And you can see how feathers and natural materials like stone and bone, and also weaving, it's a feature of this work. It's intended to be a ceremonial garment, and it also refers to, yeah, you might like this, Michelle, to medicine and the ways which different natural herbs can make medicine. And sometimes it's shown with the actual medicine that they make, the creams in little jars, and you can partake in that healing process. Of course, it's very tight for space. So you've got four artists. You've got Winsome, who is, I love Winsome because I don't know how she does this. She's like 80-something years old, but she produces a painting every day. I don't know, she wakes up in the morning and does it, you know. And she was in Belize, and then she came back to Canada, and then she's still doing that, you know. And so sometimes when I contact, she goes, "Did you see my painting from this morning?" Because she puts it on socials, right? Yeah, so I'm like, oh, man. But it's amazing work, and she's doing so much community. She's in community. She is in Kingston, and she has been working very closely with the Agnes Ethering Art Center, yes, with Kenita Lila, who's a curator of the African art collection there. And in fact, Winston will actually lead the ancestral procession in next month, in November 21st, to open a group exhibition of contemporary artists, contemporary Black Canadian artists who are interacting with the African collection in the Agnes Etherington Art Center. So they had the show, but that show is touring to Museum London in November 21st. And so you will be able to see that show there. You'll catch it there if you didn't see it at Queen's. This 35-year anniversary show is dedicated to Chloe Onari and my good friend Khadija McCall, who passed away. Khadija passed away in 2020, and Chloe Onari passed away in 2021. And so these are the works actually that were. These dolls that are by Chloe were part of the original exhibition, and they are, of course, they're reminiscent of what is Black childhood for young Black children. And dolls are such an important part of your identity because for racialized folks, we go into the store and it's only been the last little while where we actually see Asian-looking dolls and Black dolls, right? Like so, I think that the doll making is an important part of the identity, but also in some cultures related to ritual. There's interesting parts where many of the works that were from the previous exhibition in 1989 were very much ensconced in the 1990s politics of representation. There was a peak period of major art production by what we call BIPOC artists at that time. Of activity and really bringing ethnocultural art histories to the forefront. As a historian, that was what I was interested in. And so there is a politics of representation, so certainly dolls related to the fabrication of identity, but then it's also, you can read into it the ways in which these identities can be commoditized, right? So that is an aspect of the exhibition frame that Andrea's writes to in her curatorial essay. So you can see the commodification of Black products for Black hair from all the way there, and then also the ways in which Black dolls and Asian-looking dolls are a premium actually to find, and they're not that often, but they're also a commodification of identity. So we're always mindful of that. So, and Khadijah's work also was very much about representing alternative versions of strong Black women, and she was one of the first artists, never mind Black artists, to actually work with fibers as an art form since the late 50s. And she's one of those artists whose work is still yet to be really written about and flourished. And because she moved to the States in her last years to live with her family, she had a lot of work there, and it was at her son's place. And so Andrea went all the way to look for the work, and this was one of the strongest works. It was not in the exhibition, but it was in another exhibition. You can see that what she does is she overlays through various silkscreen techniques, photographs and photographs of her family, and also from newspaper articles, but also mixed with, I think, the Yoruba symbols of what do I want to say, womanhood. When I was writing about Khadijah's work, one of her pieces was actually called Strong Black Woman. That was from a previous show, and that was a piece that was in the original exhibition. And she was tall, strong, and just so, she was just so inspiring all the way. In fact, she was the one who told me that this show was taking place, because she called me to say, did you hear about that we're going to do the DAWA show again, right? She was super excited about this show, so I I feel that it's really, I'm really happy that all of you are also able to take this in. So, yeah. Okay. So let's move to the next room slowly. So it's nice that these two works are together because this work as a group assemblage is called Temple, and Bousségi's work, Bousségi Billy here, is a single channel video called Fear Factor. And I'm just going to talk off script and let you know that this work is intended to be interactive. It's part of her larger project, and so it's still always in progress. So I haven't actually seen this piece. I have no idea what it is, but I have a feeling it's related to her larger sort of iconography that she's trying to do of the aesthetics of diasporic resistance. These pieces were shown in, I've seen these pieces as part of this exhibition. By the way, Grace and Bousségi are always and I also indicated them to be the curators of the 1989 exhibition, but I stand corrected by all the other members of the DAWA collective who tell me that they curated it together as a collective. So I just want to make sure that when you read that, I've corrected. So Grace is interested in new media right now, and the feature that you see here, this part, is these are all Black women warriors, basically from different centuries, and they're all engaged in some kind of martial arts that's related to them. And I'm pretty sure that this is the abbess, an abbess who they're all sort of warriors, and they're all also heroes as well. So from the Shaolin, so that's practicing kung fu. But then there is another I think this is the Afro-Brazilian who's doing capoeira. And then but there's two others, and I'm not familiar with those two others, but they're also referring to female heroes, which you can get from the QR codes. And this is also a way for you to view it in a different way. But what's interesting, you have to pick this up. This is interactive. And then so you would see them performing in your space with you, all right? So like you're also joining them. I really appreciate this piece because I think that there's very few Black artists who are working in new media, which is, I'm actually a media art historian, so this is really something that I'm excited to find out more about. Okay, so I'm gonna sit a little bit if you don't mind. Okay, so with Bousségi's piece is, I think, one of the most profoundly thought-provoking pieces for this exhibition for me, in the context of what we were discussing yesterday and in previous installments and also going forward. The piece is called Fear Factor. Again, it's about the stereotypes of Black men and Black masculinity, and the ways in which the discourses have had an impact. These stereotypical representations of Black men have impacted Black communities in general. What is often, however, sort of difficult to talk about is how the narrative, and I hope I don't do the spoiler alert, but how the narrative is about a Black woman seen through the eyes of a Black woman traveling with an Indigenous friend into a reserve. And the Indigenous friend is telling the artist, okay, well, it's very rare that you're invited, you have to be invited into a reserve, and there's certain protocols, as she talks about the protocols. And then when they get there, so she's following protocol, and so the artist is left alone. And what she sees on the shelf of the trinkets, in the living room, just sitting on the couch, is a little Black figure of a toy, which is a very typical, stereotypical, vulgar toy. And you can think about Trump's vulgar what do you call it, comments this morning, but it was basically about a little black toy, toy of a little black male, half dressed, barely dressed, and you push it, and there's something that sticks out. And so she saw this toy on the shelf, and so when her friend came back, she asked her about it, and the friend was saying, "Oh, well, we just thought it was funny," and so it was hard it was a difficult moment, right? Because, well, for various, on a number of levels, but definitely talking about sort of the challenges of intercultural awareness when we're working on anti-racism initiatives or decolonial work, right? Like that's such a challenge to talk across cultures. And so I just wanted to bring that out because I think that that is something that I would say that this group, it will not put it under rug. We can work and talk about it in ways that hopefully can help us think more about these challenges. Continuing the themes of spirituality, this is Claire Carews' work. It's a very small example of her painting, but maybe it's good because there's not a lot of space here. But this space, there's a lot of different iconography. Sorry, my English is out the door today. But Claire's work is, there's a lot going on in this piece, and it's almost like a dreamlike landscape, and it is called Visitations Emerging in 2022. And so she's still very prolific as a painter, working, and what you see is this young girl, and she's clearly in a school uniform, and she's holding a lunch box, and it says, "Do you miss us?" And what's interesting, it sort of echoes with Grace's work, which is called Temple, because here you see sort of a temple-like structure. Can you see that from far? And she's surrounded by African objects, such as an Ashanti, which I can't identify here, but Ashanti fertility sculpture, a figure of an enslaved African man trapped in a net, and apparitions. There's a net. And so for this, it's a young girl on a journey of recovering knowledge. So again, trying to retrieve that knowledge and going back in history, but also she's looking in the back, but you could also say that she embodies us looking as well. And with this kind of looking back to the past, and hopefully as you leave the exhibition, moving towards the future, I wanted to link that to this last piece that I wanted to introduce, which is by Moja McNeely. It's very warm in there, but so what you see is a video projection projected on the floor, and on the screen, if you like, what's being projected on is natural materials of sand, stone, but especially bones. This piece, I forgot, let me give you the exact title. It's called Bones/Meditations on the Middle Passage Memory, also from 2022. And so it really is about sort of reenacting this, the context of the Middle Passage, the transatlantic slavery, and how, in fact, this is not an imaginary. There are actual bones in the ocean floor, and so this is part of it. What is projected on top of it is water. So waves on water, and so it's intended to sort of bring you into the water. But as you look more closely into the rock formation, if you will notice this symbol that is a Sankofa, and it looks Sankofa, Sankofa. And it is an image, a visual image. It looked like a bird, and it actually is a bird. And what's special about this bird is that its feet are, I'm gonna imitate it. These feet are looking to the future, but it looks to the past. So its neck is like, right? It's so that's the symbol that's very common, and it is very much about looking to the past, but moving forward. The word Sankofa is from Ghana, would mean to retrieve, or put it simply, it's go back and get it, right? More colloquially speaking. And it's to really like go back, get what's important, but it's going back, but going to, so that you can continue forward, all right? And I think that this is a really nice piece to think historically in terms of the present day context, where here this weekend on Friday and Saturday, we had a very special moment also in Black Canadian, African Canadian art history, where we had the first Afrofuturism in conference, Afrofuturism and Art Conference in Canada, and it was at the National Gallery of Canada, no less, and it was called, it was produced by Cosmic North, and it was called Astro Sankofa. And so this show is so much, I know Andrea and I talked about it, so much about futurity, and you see that there's a lot of there's a thread throughout. The spirituality is all about the future, the huge future that we have, despite and because of all the hard work of our ancestors and the artists and the cultural practitioners who have worked before us to bring us to this moment where we have this show celebrating 35 years of Black Canadian art, but also able to support, really inspire, motivate future generations to work. The two artists who is being paid homage to in at the Astro Sankofa conference is Camille Turner and Kapwani Kiwanga, right? So these are futurists who are inspired and by previous work as this that we celebrate. So that's it for my tour and introduction. I hope you enjoyed it.